David Tolbert, the Registrar for the Special Tribunal for Lebanon, welcome to Al-Hadath.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
It's an honor to be here.
Thank you. The wheel of justice turned very slow, and we understand that. But many doubt the achievements of the Special Tribunal for Lebanon. Can you summarize to us and to our viewers the achievements and the shortcomings in the last 14, 15 years of the work of investigations and trials in this Special Tribunal?
Sure. As I said, thank you for the opportunity to speak with you. I think it's important to emphasize, first of all, the deep complexity of the crime that was committed that killed the former Prime Minister and others. It's not a garden variety crime. It was a very highly sophisticated explosion that killed the former Prime Minister and a number of others. Thus, the investigation and building the case took much longer than many other cases, whether they're in the national level or the domestic level or at the international level. I'm a former deputy prosecutor of the Yugoslavia Tribunal. None of the cases that we faced was anything as complex as this one. So the complexity of the case is part of the situation. Secondly, the need to protect witnesses and protect victims. There were more than 100 individuals who participated as victims. So the court, I think, worked well, but it was a highly complex case, and it took a good bit of time. So I think we have to look at it in context and think of this as a real achievement.
We understand that the current status of funding for the tribunal is the reason for the imminent closure. Can the tribunal survive this crushing financial crisis?
It is a very difficult situation, and we certainly want to keep doing the work, the important work of the tribunal. The funding is not there right now, so we have taken a lot of steps to address the situation. Earlier in the year, we cut by about almost 40% of the staff, and we've taken many economic steps to reduce cost. However, we're now in a very difficult situation as funding, a number of the funders have dropped off. We would be able to complete complete a good bit of our work, particularly with respect to the appeal. We need about 2.5 million euros for the remainder of this year, and then we would need some additional funds for next year. At this point, we do not have those funds, and if those funds do not come in very soon, we will find ourselves having to close the doors of the tribunal, which is something none of us want. I don't think the people of Lebanon want, and all people across the world who believe in justice. So we find ourselves in a very difficult situation. I'm speaking very frankly with you.
But you're not speaking about large amounts. When you say 2.5 million or euros, I mean, the tribunal started, and I lived the birth of the tribunal in 2007 with you guys. You started with a 51 million euro budget, 51 million. Last year your budget was 55 million, and now you cut it by 40%, and you're still not able to continue financially. What are the reasons for that? Has the international community, has Lebanon lost interest in this special tribunal?
Well, I think there are a number of factors. Obviously, Lebanon itself, which has 49% of the contribution or budget, is in a deep crisis, as you know, following the explosion in Beirut. So that is certainly a major factor. And then the traditional donors have, many of them have fallen off as well. So we find ourselves in a situation where we will not be able to finish the year unless we get the amount of money I mentioned, and then we need more money for next year. But I think these are some of the factors.
Yeah.
We
this
can't do
would
anything
be,
about the explosion in Lebanon, and of course, other donors are not coming forward. Yeah.
But this would be the first tribunal to close its doors because of the lack of funding. There were many poorer countries, like the court for Rwanda, the court for Sierra Leone, the court for the former Yugoslav. They all continued their work. This will be a precedent. For the first time, a tribunal closes its door and stops its work and investigation and trials because of lack of funding.
You're absolutely right on that point, and that's why one of the reasons I'm talking to you. This would be a terrible blow to justice. It would be a terrible blow to the fight against impunity. It would be a terrible blow to the rule of law. So I think the consequences are quite serious, not just for Lebanon, but for the whole international justice movement, for human rights across the board. I would say that. I would also note that some of the courts that you did mention, I spent a good bit of my time. Sorry, go ahead.
Do you believe the United Nations leadership has done all it can do to keep the tribunal going?
Well, the United Nations leadership, we have, I think they're well aware of the situation at the STL. But it's ultimately states that have the responsibility to provide the funding. And at this point, that's really not happening. We're not getting the kind of contributions that are necessary for us to continue to do our work. So this is really the problem.
How hopeful are you that the tribunal can continue?
Well, I think we're on a knife edge. If we're not able to get the funds that I've spoken of, we will be very soon in a situation where we will have to have a close down of the court and our work. And that is not a matter of months, it's a matter of days or weeks that we have to get the funding, or we're not going to be able to go forward. We'll have to be closing our doors in a shutdown sort of situation.
I understand that even shutdowns need funding. Do you have enough funds for archiving the material, the testimonies that you have, and also for protecting the witnesses that came forward to the tribunal? Or is the situation that bad that you don't even have money to shut down?
We have some monies to shut down and take the steps that you're talking about, but I think we would ask for more to be able to do this in the best possible way. So at this point, we're certainly husbanding the funds that we have to ensure a proper shutdown, but we would probably need extra funding as well, and we're talking to our management committee about that.
Okay, the individuals who were of interest for the tribunal, many say that they were low-level persons, and the real culprits, the planners, the ones who gave the orders to carry out these terrorist acts, are not pursued by the tribunal. What do you say to them?
Well, I certainly think AL-HAJ was hardly a low-level culprit. He was certainly a very high-level Hezbollah operative. Badreddin, who reportedly died in Syria back in 2016, was not a low-level person. So I think some very high-level people were actually put on trial, at least in the in absentia trial that we had. So I would not agree with the assessment that it was mostly low-level culprits. There were some very senior ones as well.
But do you agree that the people who gave the orders at the highest level have avoided being held accountable or not?
Well, as I said, AL-HAJ has been held accountable. Others probably were not. They would have to face the court of law before that determination would be made. But I think there were others that were on a high level that have not yet been prosecuted.
If shutdown takes place, are you going to ensure the continuous protection?
For a whole variety of reasons, including insufficient evidence.
Okay. If shutdown cannot be avoided, are you going to ensure the continuous protection mechanism?
The witnesses? Is that what
for
you're
the
saying?
witnesses, yes. And also, if shutdown cannot be avoided, can the evidence and the sensitive informations can be kept and archived for years to come?
Yes, that is certainly the goal, and that's what we're working on. We're very committed to ensuring the sensitive materials and the witnesses are protected. And we've proposed ways to do that and gotten a fairly good reception. So we're firmly committed to ensuring that the witnesses are protected and the material is protected. And also I think the states that have provided material will want that as well. So
okay.
We're committed to that, and we're in a number of discussions on carrying that out.
Okay. If shutdown cannot be avoided, what happens if Salim Ayyash, who is sentenced in absentia to 5 life sentences, is arrested? What happens to him if he's arrested, if the tribunal is closed down?
I think that would be for the national authorities in Lebanon. They would have to address that if the tribunal is no longer in existence.
If shutdown cannot be avoided, what does it say to the victims of the crimes?
I think they would have a duty, given that there had been a conviction.
Okay. If shutdown cannot be avoided, what does it say to the victims of the crimes and
well,
the families?
I mean, this is something that weighs heavily on me and my... Well, I do think that we should take into account that there has been a major trial, and victims have some solace from the conviction and being able to participate in the most extensive way I know on the international level in the trials. Sorry, I lost my phone. In the court process. On the other hand, of course, victims will be disappointed that the tribunal was not able to continue its important work. So I think there's a part of this that we should all be proud of, and the victims should have solace in, but the fact that if it does indeed end, it will be incomplete.
What does it mean also to the whole concept of end of impunity in our region, the end of impunity in our region? What does it mean to that?
Well, I think it is a blow, as I said earlier, to the fight against impunity if the tribunal does not go forward and continue to finish its mandate, finish its work. And this is one of my major concerns, because I think it's important in the region, but I think it's important beyond the region too. The movement for accountability and international criminal justice has been now going on since Nuremberg. And these are very important precedents and very important markers, and send a strong message to those who commit crimes against humanity and other serious crimes and crimes of terrorism.
Okay.
So it sends the wrong signal, of course, and we don't want that to happen. We want the STL to continue to do its work.
Time has caught up with us, sir, and I'm sure it will send the wrong signal to the first tribunal to fight terrorism and hold terrorists accountable, that the international community will hesitate in the future to set up another tribunal such as the Special Tribunal on Lebanon. Mr. David Tolbert, the Registrar of the Special Tribunal for Lebanon, we thank you for this interview, and we wish you all the very best of luck in raising the funds needed to continue the good and important work that your tribunal is carrying out. Thank you, sir, and God bless.
Thank you. Thank you for your support.
Thank you.
Thanks for the time.